Yeah, you want to hold up the, earlier this year I wrote a brief little booklet that somewhat describes what we've seen in the last few years, but then also talks about some future things. One of our directors asked me recently would I share some updated thoughts even to that booklet. And I think some of you have seen a couple of those. So let me just walk really quickly through 5 things. The first thing that I think we are definitely seeing is, and both of these are both and kind of things. So there's all things digital and the relational resurgence. And we work with churches and innovative churches across the country. They're moving everything that can be digitized to a digital format. At the same time, what we see is a heart cry of people within these congregations that are also wanting a deep relationship. And so we've got to figure out ways that we build not only things digitally, but also a relational resurgence, a connection, people to people, person to person, that's going to build deep discipleship within our congregations. The other thing that I described in this little paper I've been working on is I think we're going to see big things and smack. Let me describe that. I think we're going to have within our congregations this whole mentality of kind of a campaign, and that as I've interviewed people in congregations, they can remember certain campaigns. And what I mean by campaign is just an intense season where we're either working on a stewardship campaign or an outreach campaign, but a 6 to 8 week season where we tried to get the whole congregation focused on one thing. It's almost a remake of the revivals that we used to have in my own tradition. At the same time, we need to be thinking about the big campaigns that we're going to do every year or the campaign type things we're doing. We also need to consider what Jim Collins calls the specific, methodical, and consistent. And I think you will be able to identify things in the past of all of your churches, but I know most of your churches, that have been the specific, methodical, and consistent things that have helped to drive your vitality in the past. I think the clearer we can get on those and hold those in front of us and hold those as core parts of our congregation, combined with some of the big campaign things, the better off we're going to be. I think the third thing I would say that we are observing is two number things. One is the 50 plus, and then what I call the 520 window. The 50 plus thing, about that I mean today's 50-year-olds are not the same as the 50-year-olds of the past. And as people hit these numbers, what that looks like for the next season of life can be a time of great kingdom fulfillment, joy, involvement, and investment. At the same time, we can't lose sight of the 520 window, and the 520 window is just making sure that we are ministering to people between 5 years of age and 20 years of age. We all know that those are critical years in faith formation, and so we have to have our ministries that make sure we're always serving that span. And that may be through their parents, but we need to make sure that we're working on that. The fourth thing is local and global. And with apologies to Bob Roberts, who's on this call, I'm not going to use his term of global, but I think the term is very appropriate. I described it in the What's Next booklet and said that I think an authenticator for today's people and today's culture is to make sure that we are impacting both locally and globally. And I know Mike Slaughter, who's going to speak next, and has also been a part of that. We've got to realize that also global has come to us. There are over 2.3 million international students in the United States at U.S. colleges and universities. About 3% of our country, the U.S. is, and we may have a Canadian. Do we have any Canadians here today? Oh, okay. But about 3% of our country's population is new immigrants every year from other countries. So that's something we also have to keep in mind. And then also, in any time that I've seen this over the 17 years I've been with Leadership Network, is that for vital growing churches, that the lead pastor's personal leadership role changes about every 3 years. And when that happens, the whole team has to be reformulated as well, and what that looks like. And so I think one of the things that we're going to be playing with in this group, Greg, is, okay, what does that look like for our next chapter? How does my role as the key leader need to change? And how does the role of our whole team at the top levels need to look like to manage and to, not manage, but to help guide the changes that are coming? At Leadership Network, we always want to keep the brand promise out there that we help people not just talk about ideas, but also get to implementation plans and to real kingdom impact. So those are some of the kind of things that I'm seeing. I'm really wanting to learn from some of you, and so that we can journey on this together. I'll also be a part of attending many of these meetings and learning from you, so I really look forward to it.